Throw to Madsen. Touchdown.
Madsen inside the 15, inside the 10.
By John Madsen.
He became a Fiesta Bowl champion and an NFL prospect.
John Madsen, founder of Supra Human.
Oh, you're the guy who plays in the NFL. When you get cut, you're one thing one day and you're not that thing the very next day.
By no choice of your own, you're cut. And it's like, oh, where do I go from here?
I think it's just really important to get really clear about who you want to become and identify with that versus who you've always been.
If I was to ask you now, what are you?
I think it's just,
How do you validate yourself now?
the main piece on identity that I would like to get across is that
I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters.
I'm Ben Olliver.
Welcome to the Supra Human show, yeah?
John Madsen, founder of Supra Human. Let's talk about identity. So you have played in the NFL, started your brick and mortar gym business. That kind of transitioned to then the online of Athletic AF, and now we are Supra Human. So we talk about this with our clients in terms of changing your identity in order to kind of create these new habits, these new behaviors, and make them last. What were the key identity shifts that you experienced, and if we break it from segment to segment, so coming out of the NFL and then starting a business, where was your identity coming from an athlete perspective to then now I'm a business owner? Kind of what were the key things that changed there?
Yeah, I mean, when I was an athlete my whole life. And so that identification piece, I'm an athlete, was like deep, And so the hard part about that, and I've seen this over and over with a lot of my friends and a lot of the people who play at a high level, right? In most cases, people might play high school sports. And that's the end. 18 years old, high school graduation, they got to do something else with their life. There's a shift that has to happen. When you continue on and you go Division I or you play at the college level, now you're done at maybe 22, 23 years old. So you've been an athlete a little bit longer, played at a little bit higher level, have, and in the United States at least, if you're a star athlete, like people look at you a different way. When I was playing at the University of Utah and we were really good, we'd go out to restaurants, we'd go out to the bars, and people, those are the guys that play at the University of Utah. Can I buy you a drink? And it's like you walk in and you get that. Now you go to the NFL, it's a different level. Now you're the guy who plays in the NFL, something that less than 1% of people ever do. And you walk into rooms and you're walking in with people who are just massive. So you can go to any restaurant and everybody's head turns and they're like, who are those guys? And when you get cut, like I got cut at 27 years old, you're one thing one day and you're not that thing the very next day, because nobody cares really that you don't play anymore. It's like you go from, oh, there's Johnny plays for the Raiders to, oh, there's Johnny used to play for the Raiders. Different thing. Yeah. And it's really hard.
As a steep drop off.
Really hard. And so I've seen a lot of guys get really gobbled up into not knowing who they even are without that badge. And it took me 27 to probably 30, where those 3 years was just kind of like a cloudy haze, where I was like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know how to validate myself without this thing that validated me for me. And so, I've seen guys go off, the deep end with alcohol or, drugs or partying. And it's a real scary deal. So, my message and people do this going through careers too. Like if you're a top executive and all of a sudden you're not, it's like the same shift occurs at different levels. And I think it's just really important to get really clear about who you want to become and identify with that versus who you've always been.
I think it's, especially in that situation, because you were doing something that you loved as well. Whereas if someone's doing something that they hate, I think it can be quite easy to then make that identity shift to then it can't get any worse because I hate what I'm doing right now. But when something external has told you you're not that thing anymore, you haven't decided it. It's like, no, like you aren't doing this thing anymore. You have that kind of transition where it's like, shit, like that's really like blindsided me. I wasn't kind of preparing for this. So in those kind of in those years where you said it was kind of cloudy, was it a gradual transition, or did you feel like there was a, I guess for lack of a better term, like a rock bottom where you were like, I need to change, or like a moment? Or do you think it was just like a gradual thing where when you were ready to kind of make that shift?
Yeah, no, it was gradual, but like I derived all my value out of being this, this thing that was outside of me. So this external validation of me being one of the top athletes in the world. And so when that's taken away, then you're like, okay, how do I validate myself? And also my bank account, went to zero 16 months after my last game that I played in the NFL. And so, I wasn't rich by any stretch of the imagination playing in the NFL, but I had a lot more money at 27 years old than a lot of people did. And to see that go zero, like all of a sudden now, you're validating yourself by how much money's in the bank, by being this NFL player. And when both those things are now at zero, that's kind of the rock bottom moment where you got to decide who you're going to be. And if you don't, then you're always going to live in the past. I have a lot of friends that, might have played 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, up to 10 years. And there's an alumni event in, most of the organizations, and the Raiders actually do a really good job. But I was talking to one of my buddies who played for like 12 years, and he said, the sad part is every year he goes back and the guys' lives are significantly on the downhill 10 years after they play, versus like a very, very few of them are like accelerating in their second careers. And then everybody's living in this, this past version. I used to be this player. And so, all their stories, everything they talk about, their best days were 10 years back. And there's, a very small portion of the guys who it's like, that was awesome, love what I did, but my best days are now and in the future.
That's such a hard transition, isn't it, for like an athlete? Because like the status and like the identity you have of being an NFL player and making X amount of money, like you've tied that, and overnight you go from almost like a very high status to nothing. Like, oh, and now it's gone. You can see how, because there's not many other career paths that I can think have that fast drop off where you're in this really highly, and again, in the NFL as well, like you can be a soccer player, but because of your stature, you can fly under the radar because you're 5'9", 5'10", 160 pounds or whatever. So people might not even notice you. But when you're up at like 6'5", everyone notices straight away. And then it's very easy to go, that's the NFL player. So people talk about you a lot more, and then it just drops off where you're like, oh, now I'm just gone. Yeah, I got to start again.
And it was almost like it was out of your control as well. It's like you didn't have a choice. Like they cut you. So it was like, oh, like 1 minute you're top of your game, and then next, by no choice of your own, you're cut. And it's like, oh, where do I go from here?
Before going to the next kind of segment to the brick and mortar facility, how do you validate yourself now?
I've decided that I'm valuable as a human being, and the external things are just external, right? So it's not that I don't chase status or, external stuff. I derive my value from just being a human being, and I think everybody should do that. And I think it's really hard because, we do attach ourselves to whatever it is we do.
Yeah.
It's I mean, on a much lesser, insignificant level,
on a much shorter, bolder level.
It was so for years I was into bodybuilding, and I heavily attached my identity as I am a bodybuilder, and I don't know what happened, but for some reason I asked myself, it's like, well, if I died on my tombstone, if it was just Ben, he loved to bodybuild, I thought, I don't want to be remembered as that at all. And so, you could argue even if you had a great career in the NFL like you did, do you want that on your tombstone? That's what you're remembered by. It's like, oh, he loved to play football and he was awesome. It's like, because there's so much more to people and you than that. So you kind of like, well, that's not who I am anyway. It's just something I did. And so exactly what you said, it's you want to be remembered as who you were as a person, not the achievements that you've kind of that you've got in life, so to speak.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because when I was a kid, I'd look up to these professional athletes. Like if I walked into a restaurant and one was there, I'd be like, oh my God, that's Karl Malone. I've had those experiences when I was a kid. So I put these athletes on a pedestal, and it wasn't till long after I played, I started, now I'm 42, I'm watching, NFL games or NBA games, and you realize that these guys are, mostly in their 20s. A few of them, play well into their 30s, like if you're LeBron James or Tom Brady. And I watch the game now, and I'm like, these are just guys who are really good at one thing. They're good at playing ball. It's like a kid's game, and they just happen to be really, really, really good at it. And it is inspirational to watch anybody who is great at any certain thing. Yeah. But in my mind now, it's just like, they chose to be great at basketball. They put all their work and all their heart into playing basketball. What else have they done?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of fans, obviously fill up stadiums, and they put these athletes on, super high pedestals. Yeah. And if they took time to think that it's just a silly game, not taking anything away from sports. I love sports, but it's just a silly game. And those are just human beings who happen to be really good at that thing, then, I just look at it with a different frame than I used to. I think it's important for people to do that.
Yeah, it's like, what else do they have to offer?
Yeah. And I think especially with athletes, they get put on such a high, like a high stool, isn't it? Like a really good example of that is in the UFC, obviously one of the greatest is like John Jones. Like he's got all the accolades you could ever get. So on paper is the best ever. But then you look at him as a person, and he's got like a real terrible track record. And once you start to see all the other stuff, you're like, oh, you don't really look at him the same anymore. Because like, okay, yeah, he is good at fighting, but have you seen what he's like as a father? Have you seen what he's like as a person? All the drug scandals he had and everything. And then it almost like you lose that stuff. You're like, oh, he's not actually a great guy to look up to at all.
Like most people, what they'll do, if someone's like really good at sports, or like they're a celebrity, they'll assume that they're like good at everything else, that they're a good parent, they're a good person, and often that's not the case, So it's like, but just because like they're a celebrity and they make movies or they play high-end sports, like they're a great person outside of it.
Yeah.
The other thing as well is you can be amazing at that one thing, but like let's say put Usain Bolt in a math class, and he'll feel like a complete idiot. And so it's like you could be exceptional in one area, but feel like the newbie that sucks in another area. And so going from the NFL to then starting your own business, what was where were you at in terms of kind of like how you felt about yourself, in terms of like confidence and things like that? Because, starting a new business, there's no evidence that you can do it yet because you're starting from scratch. Going from kind of the brick and mortar facility to then having coaches coach under you, and then kind of the expansion that we've got now, were there any kind of pivotal moments to yourself where you've said, I now need to become this in order to kind of level up and build this thing to the next kind of great thing?
Yeah, for sure. Going back to like 7th grade, I remember I was in English class and I heard my name like over the loudspeakers, like John Madsen, to the counselor's office. And I'm like, what the hell? Like I was a straight A kid, I wasn't really a fighter. I didn't get into trouble. And so, when you're in class like that, everybody turns like, what did you do? And I'm like, what did I do? So I grabbed my backpack, and I remember walking down this hallway thinking to myself, like, I wonder what the hell like I did to get called, in the middle of class. And so I walk into the counselor's office. His name was Mr. Beasley. And as soon as I saw his, the room, it was plastered with Denver Broncos memorabilia all over the walls. Like on this wall would have been like a John Elway poster, autographed. He had one of those, foam fingers, like #1 fan, Denver Broncos, bright orange, and everything was Broncos. And he's like, John, do you know why you're here? I'm like, no, sir. He's like, sit down. So I sit down, and he pulls out a sheet of paper, and it was an assignment we had to do in one of the previous weeks. And on this assignment, we had to write down, our top 2 career choices. And so I wrote down career choice #1. I'm like, professional athlete. That's what I wanted to do. It's 7th grade, about 13 years old. Career choice #2, I wrote down professional athlete. I thought about it for a moment. I'm like, there's nothing else I want to do in life but this thing. And so that's why I got called down to the office. He's like, he pulls out another sheet of paper, and it was all the statistics. John, do you know how the percentage of athletes that play high school that go on and play college? And it's like less than 5%. He's like, now, do you know the percentage of high school athletes that go on and play pro? And he's like, less than 1%. So I'm just looking out for you. You're going to need to choose a different career choice for at least the number 2 thing, because you got to have a plan B, right? And that was the first time in my life I had like an authority figure kind of like tell me that my dreams were not possible. And so to get out of the office, I agreed to write, scratch it out, write in something else for the second one. Don't know what that is, but having that come to fruition, especially after never playing a down of high school football, right? It's like, now I'm my own statistic. What are the percentage of, football players who never play in high school that go to the NFL? It's like now there's not a chart out there. And so when I made that happen, when I was done, I had this thought that I could do anything. And so my confidence was sky high in my ability to choose something and do that thing, because I had evidence, right? And business was that thing. So I remember when I was going to open up the business and I was telling people what I was going to do, they started out, business people wanted to give me advice. They're like, well, are you going to be an LLC? Are you going to be an S Corp? Are you going to be a C Corp? You got to talk to lawyers. I'm like, guys, I'm just going to open up a gym and I'm going to train people, relax with all this stuff. I had no idea how to run a business. And I went in with this kind of delusional thinking that because I made my NFL dream come true, I could be great at business too. And then I got humbled, because 16 months after opening up my gym, pouring all the money into that gym, I had to close up shop, rip the equipment out, and start from zero. And over the next 6-7 years, I was in business, but I was more like that guy that was treading water with my nose, like the water right up here, taking breath and just like treading. Yeah. And so my belief in my ability to do business started here, and over, almost a decade, it came back down to here. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not meant for, this extraordinary business career. Maybe that's not in the cards. And so I had a couple moments in there and a couple key figures that helped me, when my back was really against the wall. And then now, we just got recognized as a 273rd on the Inc. 5000, 15 years after opening up that first gym. Now there's so much evidence in my mind where confidence is at an all-time high, knowing that time is the only factor, right? It's like, if you put enough time and dedication and effort and you learn and you continue to invest in yourself, now I believe that like there's no cap on the limitation. And I think that that now is obviously a gift that I have to people who can't pull on their story in the past. It's a little bit harder because they have to prove to themselves that they can follow through on one thing to get to the second thing, to get to the third thing. So the identity piece for me was like, I'm a winner. And I thought that when I got cut, I'd be a winner in business. But again, like that, over a long, almost decade, came back down and I had to build it back up.
I just got a quick question I was thinking about then. And I don't want you to think about the answer. I just want you to answer it as fast as you can. So obviously when you were an athlete, if I said, what are you? You'd say, I'm an athlete or I'm an NFL player. So the first thing you think about is, that's what I am. So if I was to ask you now, what are you?
I'm just a man.
It's strange the way people describe themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like you don't tie that to anything necessarily. It's not like, because you could have easily said, I'm the founder of Supra Human or I'm an entrepreneur. But it's like, if you describe yourself then as just a man, it's like, well, I know I'm a man who does things.
Yeah.
I'm a man who did found Supra Human. I'm a man who I am creative. I'm a marketer. Like, there's a lot of things you could have chosen there to describe yourself as, but it's just quite interesting to see. Just a man.
Yeah, I don't like boxes anymore. I don't like boxes. So it's like, I am John Madsen, one of 8 billion. That's who I am, right? And that everything external is just, those are things I'm interested in or skills that I've acquired. but I don't like to box myself into any of those things.
Yeah.
And when did you start thinking like that? Because I bet you always haven't thought like that. So at what point in your life do you think you started thinking like, I'm just a man who does things? Because I bet when you were in the NFL and I asked you the same question, you would have said, I'm an NFL player.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that was the problem.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that it's actually pretty recent, within the last 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, that's quite sure.
Yeah. Because now I'm at this point where I feel like I don't have anything else to prove. You know, and it's like I'm still very competitive, but now I feel very certain by just saying what I just said, because I don't necessarily need to prove to anybody that I'm, you know, a business owner or a this or a that. It's like, you know, I'm proud of all those things, but I would say in the last 3 years, as this business has gotten to a certain point, I've been able to like shed that layer and just let it go.
If you say when you're in the NFL, the need for external validation, just hypothetically, was at 100, where would you say that is now? Do you still? I don't know. I don't want to say desire that, but like everyone likes a bit of validation, you know, because it kind of shows you like, am I on the right track, you know, to what I want to do. But do you still have that desire? Because I would imagine that's gone way down because you've got the evidence of like it's. I don't need someone to tell me it's working. I can see it's working.
Yeah. I mean, it's down, but it's still a driver, you know. So almost contradictory to what I just said. I'd be lying if I'm like, you know, if the business wasn't doing well, right, and we weren't as successful as we are, and we weren't 273 on the list of fastest growing companies, I think that it would still be 100. I think that just recently I've been able to take a breath, and it's one of those things where it's like I don't need to prove as much as I thought I did, but you know, I'm still very, very competitive, and I think that my biggest driver is business now is my way to compete in the world. I can't play on Sundays anymore, right? I can't lace up the cleats and go out there and lay it all on the line. It's like I could compete, you know, playing Uno with my daughter, right? It's like there's only so many things that you can compete in now. And like business is my playground. That's where my competitive spirit can come out. And so I just like to win, right? One of my buddies, Jeremy Miner, he, like we posted the number 273 on the ink, right? Yeah. And a couple hours later, I see him post his ink thing, and he was like 253.
Motherfucker.
And we were number 7 in Arizona, right? He was number 6 in Arizona, and I'm like, that motherfucker, dude. And so like I'm commenting on his stuff, and you know, obviously people in business are competitive, and I'm like, next time we go out to dinner, you're buying. But like in my mind, I was just like, there's that moment. I'm like, gosh, damn it. Yeah. Like I would rather it be flipped and him be one behind me. Yeah. And that's just how I'm built though.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to scratch that itch, so of like being competitive in business, but then also outside of that, like be John Madsen.
Yeah. You know? I think when you grow up playing sport,
it never goes.
You always goes. Like when we did that fitness test the other day, like we went and it's like
I talked endless shit that whole week.
It wasn't for anything. So Ben had a fitness test the other day, and he was like, "You can come and do it against me." And in my head, I'm like, well, I don't need, like, it's not part of my training. It's not something I need for the week. But then I turned up and I was like, but I can't lose. I was almost getting like anxious beforehand. Because I'm like, if I lose, I hate it so bad that I don't. But it is what it is.
Goes to show competition, right? So tomorrow we're going to a bowling alley because Ben has challenged Sully to a bowling thing because Ben reckons he can beat him, and Sully's like,
Sully said he was great at bowling. I said $100. Says I'll kick your ass, and he's like, you're on. And it's just everything. It's been ping pong. It's been pool. It's been bowling. But we still do it.
It's like competition coming out in a healthy way, isn't it?
I hate losing.
Like I don't care for winning. I hate losing.
Exactly. I hate losing way more than I even love winning. Winning's fun. Losing like is terrible. And when you're gonna, you know, a year ago, Grant, you know, our head of sales, we were lifting pretty good, getting ready for the photo shoot, and we decided one day we're going to do a 225, you know, bench press deal.
And that's like an NFL test, isn't it?
Yeah. And Grant's son was there. You know, his son was like 16 at the time or 15 years old, and so he was lifting with us, and I went first. And I'm like, I'm going to have to put up a number to, to win this thing, especially first.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I did like 22 or 23 or something, which was good for me. I mean, these long ass arms.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it might do it, And Grant's son is right there. And he looks at his son. I'm like, this guy, like, there's no way he's going to let me win. And so he's grinding those last ones out. And he probably grinded 4 out that I was like, he's done. And he one up me. And that last one was like everything he had.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love competing with guys like that.
It always pushes you that much further, even in that test. So when I train by myself and I push myself quite hard, my heart rate will get up to like 198, 197. Like that's when I'm going full send and I've got nothing left. I did that test. I glanced down, 204. I'm up at 204 because again, I'm against something now, so I've got to push that a little bit more. It always squeezes that little bit more out.
Yeah.
I would say we're all competitive as coaches as well. Like we all want to be the best, and as a byproduct of that, the standard just keeps rising.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So here's a good one. So I mean, if someone asked me like, is John Madsen a confident person? I would say probably one of the most confident people I've ever met.
Same.
Now let's put you in a room with SHX. We've got Ed Milet, we've got Urban, we've got Jesse. How do you feel when you go into a room with them? Because I know Urban has been a mentor for you, coach when you were younger. Do you feel like, again, I'm trying to put it into words, but like, do you feel like you shrink a little bit in those rooms, or now do you feel like, I'm among my peers kind of because I've achieved these things now? Yeah,
I mean, and guys like that are obviously, a decade ahead, or they've done some incredible things. But I do think that, walking into those rooms now versus 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I feel completely different. Now it's just like, I'll get there. Maybe I'm not at their, financial level or net worth level now. And if that's a goal of mine, then, I'm going to continue to pursue. But I definitely don't think I shrink in a room like that. Where I do feel a little bit insecure is if they're speaking on stage and they're the best in the world at speaking and I'm not really a speaker, then I'm a little bit nervous to go out on stage and have people see the contrast. That's the insecurity of like embarrassment. You know what I mean? Like I'm more afraid of
me too,
what
John.
people, if I'm going to be honest, I'm afraid of people in their mind being like, that was awesome, John sucks.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that, that doesn't happen.
But it's situation dependent because, like Jesse's a long distance runner. Like if you went and worked out with him, you'd be like,
exactly.
I've got full confidence.
Yeah.
If he goes, let's go do a run, you'd be like,
Yeah.
And so it's very, very situation dependent when you go in those rooms with those people.
Yeah. That's why I think it's important. Like everyone needs to have a growth mindset, because if you go into the thing that you're not good at, then do you have the mindset that if you put the work in, you could get better? And do you want to? And that was the thing with me speaking, because I get asked to speak all the time. And in our business model, it's not really a part of the plan. A lot of these guys speak on stages, and that's how they get clients.
Sure.
So they speak all over, the world, and they get really good at it because now they put in that 10,000 hours of speaking, where I'm like, nah, I don't really need to do it. Like our marketing's rolling in the background, as we're talking, we're dropping sales in here, not necessarily a need. And so until this event, when all of a sudden we got Urban to speak, and we already had Jesse and Ed, I woke up after getting Urban and I was like, oh shit. That's when I got nervous, and I'm like, I'm gonna find the best speaker in the world that I think is the best. And I'm gonna get coached by that person because he's obviously done this one thing that I want to get better at. And then that growth mindset kicks in, and it's like, just follow the direction of somebody who's the best in the world at that thing and do whatever they tell you to do, as weird as it is, no matter if you don't want to do it. And over time, you go from being not really a speaker to one of the best. It's like that's the growth mindset, right? And instead of going back to the identity part, I used to say I'm not a speaker. So I'm identifying with not being a speaker. Therefore, I'm not even going to try or prepare or learn or anything like that. And you guys see this in our coaching program. The guys who just shut the fuck up and do exactly what the plan is. And we saw all those guys yesterday. I walked in the gym and it's like an ordinary person, they can't even tell if they're a client or a coach. These guys are jacked, and they were not jacked before. These guys have all lost 60 pounds, 70 pounds, 80 pounds, some over 100 pounds. And they're in incredible shape. And the common denominator, and you guys know this better than anybody, is they just did exactly what the best in the world, you guys, told them to do. They didn't bitch and complain about it. They didn't try to do it their own way. They just followed the plan over time. And boom, you know.
We always catch clients using I am statements in a negative kind of way. And we would say, you're not that thing. You have a tendency to do that thing. You have a habit of doing that thing, but you can change habits and you can change tendencies. And so the only I am statements you want to hear are the positive ones. And just by flipping that, it's like, no, like, you're not a binge eater. You have a tendency to overeat on the weekends. And so we can fix that.
Gives you the power to change it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And even if I'm like, I'm not a speaker, they're like, you can just add the word yet on the end. And that's very you know, positive too, because it's like, it's presupposing that I will be. Right. And so sometimes people, you know, if you're not that thing, using the speaking thing to say, I'm the greatest speaker in the world, you don't really believe it. It's like, I am, you know, is you're using it in a positive way, but if you don't believe it yet, how beneficial is it?
You'll do
in the beginning, sometimes it's like, I'm not a speaker yet, but I will be. Right?
You'll do everything you can be to be the best.
Exactly.
And I always remember I read your chapter that you wrote in Chad's book, and it really stuck out to me, where you said, my insecurity is my superpower because I will do everything that I can to turn that weakness into a strength. And it really stood out to me. You know, it's like, if you had an insecurity of being embarrassed on stage and speaking, you'll do everything you can to be the best speaker you can be, like hiring a coach, etc. You know, I thought that was incredible.
For some validation, because I know you did some work with the speaker, you were 1,000% better at the event.
Thank you.
When you spoke, I could tell immediately.
That was one day.
Exactly.
Like I literally had my first day.
Just from
The
how
day
you walked
before.
up and your body language when you were talking, I was like, he's done the work.
And I've just learned, I was just observing this guy. I haven't even really got deep into it, but it was like, I felt so much better.
You could tell.
I'm like, that's the power of coaching. Right there. It's like, the coaching gave me so much confidence, and I haven't even really gone through it yet. So thank you for noticing.
It was 100% noticeable from this, because obviously we've seen every single event. And I would say, like, that's the most confident I've seen you on stage, and just the smoothest. It was brilliant.
Like the littlest things, right? Like before, I don't know how to open it. And it's like, to an expert, that's a really easy thing, right? It's like, don't get on stage and be like, hey guys, thanks for coming. You know, and in the past, I could speak once I got into the story, but it took me like 5 to 10 minutes of bullshit to get to the point where I was comfortable. And in one, you know, we spent a whole day. So in one day, had a breakthrough on like how to just come in and get right to it, and it changes the game. So I love the power of coaching and getting coached by the best.
So with the kind of the subject of identity, because we talk a lot about like authenticity as well, during your journey, do you have any examples of things that you've done? Maybe it's from like peer pressure, or you see other people doing it and you try to do it, and then you kind of have a moment where you're like, that's not me, and then you kind of just shut it down. Like, have there been moments where you've tried something and been like, this just isn't kind of who I identify as or what I want to become, and then you kind of and you pivot?
Yeah. You know, when this business, I'll answer it two ways. When this business started to take off, right? Like right before you got on board, in that first little level up from like, you know, we're doing 0 to having that first $1 million a year, I was getting coached by all these different marketing coaches, like, do this, do a 45-minute webinar, do, you know, all this stuff that was, you know, in the marketplace. There's millions of coaches trying to be online fitness coaches. And so they're all getting coached in the same way. And it wasn't working. And it wasn't working for a long enough time that I got pissed off one day. And I set up a tripod, like this camera right here. And there was no videographers. Like, I had a camera, I put it on a tripod, I hit record, and unscripted, I just went in for 10 minutes, like just like angry at this camera, speaking to the soul of the exact client that I wanted to attract into the business. Started running that video, and overnight my calendar just starts loading up. And so I'm doing the sales calls, and I'd ask the question, why'd you book the call? And to a man, they were like, that video spoke to my heart. So they were sold from the marketing video. And I knew I was onto something then. And now, there's been 4, 5, 6 different iterations of that very first video, right? But it's like that authenticity of me just being me and forgetting about all the marketing bullshit that I had learned, all of it helped get me to that point. But then I couldn't just copy the playbook from somebody else because it wasn't authentic to me. So I had to do it my way, and that's where, the business started to take off. Answering the question a different way, like I always talk about how, remember when you're in like middle school? And I remember when I got my driver's license, and back in the day we were burning CDs, and we had actual CDs. It wasn't a cell phone that just connected Bluetooth and bam, you have all your music. And like Eminem was very popular when I was like a sophomore in high school. And so when my friends would pile into the car and we were doing whatever we were doing, it's like we'd always throw that Eminem CD in and just rap like we were rap gods or something. And I remember like I didn't really like it, right? I didn't really like it, but I thought it was cool. And I think people do this all the time. It's like they wear shit that they don't even really like, but they think other people will like it and accept it. So they try to adopt that thing, right? And if you take this further into adulthood, I think you have a bunch of people who are still playing that same game in a little bit different way. Everything that they want is something they think they should want. And very few people are very clear about what they actually want. Yeah. And it's really hard to achieve something that you should want because you don't have the desire or ambition for that thing internally. And so it's like you don't have the fight, you don't have the persistence, you don't have the desire to go get that thing. But if you're completely sure about what you do want and you really want that thing, then you have endless ambition to go get it. And I think that people are just it's somewhere, but it's just so many layers deep.
They're afraid to really just tell people what they like and what they don't like. Yeah. Like I remember when I was first introduced to my ex's dad, and he loved soccer. So like had his favorite team, watched it like nearly every day. First time meeting him, always nervous. I can't stand soccer. I hate watching sports. The only thing I watch is the Olympics. And I meet him and soccer's on TV, and he's like, "Oh, do you watch this?" And in my head I was like, I could lie and, and build some rapport and try and get off on a good foot. And I was like, but then I'm going to be stuck. And he's going to ask me to watch football with him constantly. And I was like, Nick, there are few things in this world that I hate more than watching soccer. And he goes, fair enough. And then when we got on great, but I was like, if I had lied there and tried to like something that I really didn't, that relationship would have been a misery. Yeah. But on a bigger level, the amount of times that people are afraid to say no, that's not my thing, or no, I'm not into that, because they want to appease someone else, you end up just living this life of just trying to appease other people, and you're never really happy because you're not doing what you actually like to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so true, man. And I respect people, even if they go against
what you like or something.
Exactly. Yeah. To me, I'd be like, I like that person a lot because I can trust that person. Yeah. Right? Yeah. The other people that just go along with it, it's like, now to your point, you get in deep. You're never out of that little rabbit hole. You're watching soccer for the next, it's like,
you're researching it to make sure you
trying to think of the last game.
And then they're like, oh, do you know so-and-so? You're like, yeah. You're like, you have no idea.
Yeah. Right. And it's the other one when people change their opinions. You say, oh, do you like something? They go, yeah, I do. And then you go, well, I think it's stupid. And they go, yeah, me too. It's like, what the fuck you on about? But it's just if just stick to the thing. Yeah.
The thing that I think we do different than, and it's kind of an undercurrent to the program, right? Like other fitness coaches, they don't get this part. We've given or granted all of our clients, the 4,000 clients that we have all over the United States, this permission that they've never given themselves to go after the body that they've always wanted, because it's kind of a vanity-driven thing, right? And vanity is frowned upon in today's society. It's like you shouldn't look in the mirror too much. Like, it's not about how you look and all these different things. And so it's kind of one of those things that people don't like to admit. And so when they start fitness programs, they're starting for a reason, but that reason is very cloudy to them. They're like, I just want to be healthier, or I just want to be healthier for my kids. That the reasoning behind it is something that might be a benefit, right? I want to be healthy for my daughter too. But at the root of all these guys, we've given them permission to go achieve their best self. Now they look in the mirror and they have, a vein crawling up their arm. They have a six-pack when they look in the mirror, and they realize how much work and discipline that it took that most people aren't willing to do. And now they look at that picture, not in disgust. They're proud of it, right? And when you're proud of yourself and you love the work that you've put in, which is why I like that it's hard, right? It's not an easy thing, which makes it all the more worth it. Now they walk through life differently. And they're like, if I can do this, if I could have this much discipline, what else could I do? And then that first little, that first win when it comes to their body, and our guys are successful. It's not like these guys are not successful business guys anyways. It's like they unlock new levels in their business because now their confidence is at a different level. And at the W, when everyone's walking in, other people, like once you see this, you cannot ever not see it. Other people can't take their eyes off. They're looking at this group like, how is everybody in elite shape? Right? It's a pattern interrupt in a very mediocre world.
With how you've built the brand, you've given people that they're not going to be judged in this program, and they can say openly, yeah, I would just want to look great. Like I want to look awesome. I want to feel awesome. Because most other companies, they would think going deeper would be like, well, no, you need to do it for your family and for your kids. And we're almost the opposite. Where it's like, no, like you want to do it because you just want to look fucking awesome.
Exactly.
And we go like that sounds great. Versus going like, oh, that's a bit shallow. Like we should work on health and things. Like where you just go straight in and say like, no, like this is why people want to do it. And I think people can, again, like you've given them permission to be themselves and just admit what they actually want. And as a coaching department, like we don't judge whatever they want to do. It's like our like job is to get you towards what you want. And maybe just as coaches, you can see like I'm getting these signs that they want something else than what they're telling me. And it's your job as a coach to kind of like have those conversations and kind of pry it out of them. And then you're like, now we can get to work because you finally admitted what it is you actually want. But I think that it starts with like you and the brand and how you've set that up of just like unconditional permission to win. And just like that's the whole brand.
And I'm like, I like human nature, right? Like I'm a student of human nature. Like I believe that there's a piece of everybody. And in some people, it's just buried under layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of programming sometimes. But there's a piece in everybody that's universal to all people. They want to look incredible. And it's just buried so deep in people, right? And in our program, to your point, like we give people permission to express that desire that is part of being a human. It's like in all of us, there's qualities that we don't love that are there. And, jealousy, envy, there's these emotional pieces that all of us have in being a human being. And some people want to act like those don't exist. Like, I have no part of me that's jealous, or I have no part of me that's envious, or I have no part of me that is vain. And it's like, no. We are human beings and we all have that. And I think one of those things is this vanity component where it's evolutionary. Like, you know what I mean? Like you could look at animals and it's like, the male peacocks are this, they're going to, people talk about peacocking.
It's what they do.
It's what they do to attract a male, right? And it's like, how do you do that as a human? Because we're doing that as human beings. And just because we live in this society with rules and stuff, it's like we act like we're not kind of animalistic. And I just realized a long time ago, like we're very animalistic. And I'm going to go through that right for that animalistic desire. And that's how I do it in my marketing. Like we call it, when I'm marketing or I'm, trying to get the message out, people have such a crazy reaction to it because I'm going for the emotional brain. Like I'm going right for that emotional brain to where they react without even being able to think about why they're reacting that way. It's like, oh, fuck this guy, and it's like, well, there's a reason why you want to do that in marketing, because people don't have a choice whether to react or not. They find themselves watching the ad, filling out an application, getting on a sales call, and closing in something in that order, and it's something they've never done before. And all the guys like in the event yesterday, they all say the same thing. They're like, I can't believe like I was even on the sales call. It just hit me, and it's like that emotional brain took over, and it got them in, and they're so thankful that it did. To your point, all those guys have these stories about what if I didn't do this? Their life's different.
So is there any parts of your identity now that you're, I guess, or like traits, because again, we're not going to use like I am statements and things, but anything that you're aware of that you're, aside from the kind of public speaking, like anything that you're aware of that you're working on to kind of shift in order to grow to the next level?
I think it's just really important to keep reinventing yourself, right? Like at this level, getting to, if we want to be $100 million company, it's going to require a different level of thinking. And I think that for everybody listening, that the main piece on identity that I would like to get across is that people will fight. They'll fight to their death over who they think they are. And who they think they are, for most people, was all created a very long time ago. Where they grew up, what color their skin is, whether they were middle class, poor, or whatever. How many people in their family ever did anything that is exceptional, right? And so people go through lives defending this I am inside of them, and they're stuck. They're stuck. They can't break out because they're filtering the world. They're filtering their reality based on beliefs that are, so far built in the past. They're going to miss out on all the opportunity. So I think for everybody, it's like, stop defending the who you think you are, right? And start creating who you want to be.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's getting really clear about who you want to be and thinking from that level. It's like, what would that person do? And you behave like that person. And over time you become that person. But most people are making decisions based on who they are. And that defense keeps them trapped.
That's perfect. That's a perfect to round this one up. Just before we end, just final thoughts. What's the thing you're looking forward to the most next with Supra Human? I'm the next thing is the event. The next thing is like this event. All of us have put a lot of work into it. It's going to be an extravagant event. We're having some of the top speakers in the world come out, and more importantly than that, we're honoring our Hall of Famers and celebrating our clients, and also celebrating this team that last year was 30 people? Not even that, probably. No, I think we're at like maybe just under 20.
Yeah, and now we have over 100 people. And so I'm trying to enjoy the journey as much as I possibly can, and enjoy the landmarks along the way, knowing that we're going to go somewhere bigger than I can even imagine or put into words right now. But you think about last year and some of the things we could do because we were a little bit smaller in the Airbnb. And, just, I think you mentioned it. You're like, you got to take in these moments because we're not going to be this small. And then there's going to be, it gets more complex. But last year we had a little group of coaches, and we're, out at the pool, smoking some cigars, drinking some good tequila, just laughing our faces off about, stuff. And those are great moments, and if you're always looking there and you never take time to like enjoy the process, I think you miss a whole lot. We could go be a $250 million company, But if that's all I'm thinking about, I miss this. I miss, the event we did yesterday, because in a couple years' time, it's like, how are we going to do that? We're going to need to rent 10 suites, to fit that many people in. So, I have big goals. I have big ambition, as you guys know. There's a lot of things that I want to do. At the same time, I want to thoroughly enjoy the ride that we're on, because I don't know about you guys, it's fun as hell.
Oh, so
It's
much
fun.
fun.
Yeah,
He's the best.
I mean,
He's the best.
you need to know, and like you and Nineveh, the impact that you've had on like not only our lives but like the coach. I mean, you met Owen on this trip, and this Superhuman has changed his life, like that career, and like just make sure like that has to feel good. Like you have built something. We like every time we come out on these trips, and we've done quite a lot of them now, and we still we're driving back for an event and we're like, this is insane. Like this, like we call this work. Like, and it's like it is the funnest thing we've ever done, and we get to do it with just amazing people. Yeah. But again, it starts with you guys, and it's like you've created this like platform for us to just do this, and it's like just make sure you feel good about that.
Well, and the gratitude,
awesome.
I appreciate that, and the gratitude goes both ways. I always say that the coaching staff is the nervous system of this business, and you guys have created the most epic coaching staff that has ever been assembled. The amount of expertise we have in different little, slivers of fitness is incredible, right? And not only that, the personalities that you've put together, and the coach's ability to connect to our clients. Like if we sucked at getting people ripped, we wouldn't do any of this shit, right? We couldn't grow. And so we have to be really great at that thing, because that's our promise in the marketplace. And you guys have built the coaching staff that allows us to do it. The one thing that I'm constantly, just thinking about and fighting for, and will continue to fight for, is the culture of this company, because it's a championship culture. The stakes are high. There's a lot of pressure on a lot of departments, as you know. You lost all your hair. It's like my beard went gray real fast, and the culture is something special, and that's why we don't have a lot of turnover. That's why we have applications, out the door for people who want in. It's like people want a part of the culture, because it's hard to find. It's really hard to find a company that can win and also do something that's impactful and beneficial for the world, and also have a shit ton of fun doing it, and with a group of people that everybody enjoys. That's not a I know that's not a normal thing, and no matter how big we get, right? If we have 200 plus employees one day, and your coaching staff is not 60, but it's 120 next year, that's important. And it gets harder, because as you grow, like there's got to be more and more structure, and a little bit more red tape. But at the same time, we can't ever lose the essence of what this company was built for. And me, like I love fitness, I love fun, and I love business. And it's like I've wanted to continue to build this business around those three pillars.
Yeah. To have an incredible job is one thing. To have great friends is another. To be able to combine the two and do what you love with your best friends and around great people. Most people will never experience that in their life, and we're living it in our prime. And it's,
the one thing is for me, people ask, what do I miss most about being an NFL player? And it's not the games. It's not, it's not the practices. It's the guys. It's the boys. It's the boys. Like most people after a certain age, they can't wear a team name. They don't have a team. So they're walking around in solo missions. And even in companies, it's like they're not really a part of a team. Everyone's just doing their thing to put food on the table, and they don't really care about the team. They're just like going through the motions and doing what they have to do to live. I think that this company, and you guys feel it, is like we are all a part of a team that we care deeply about. And we get to now go through life on a championship team, which is special. It's a special thing. So I'm excited to growing the team.
Go team.
2026. Yep. Watch out. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, John. And be sure to like and subscribe. and we'll catch you next time.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, reminding you to always go get what's yours.